Hello out there, you wonderful people. This is Andre, the Game Idea Guy. Thank you once again for lending me your time and your ear, listening into another What If video from me. And this, I'm going to be talking about something that I think people would really not expect. And that's what if Other M, or Metroid Other M, came out before the Prime series. And anyone would probably think that this is a weird question. Like, how would you come up with Metroid Other M before Metroid Prime comes out? Okay, like you're gonna have to go with a little bit of a suspension of disbelief for this. Okay, you're gonna have to go along with this. Just it's okay. And technically speaking, I do believe that Metroid Other M could have been put on the GameCube. That game itself, I think it could have run on the GameCube. It wouldn't have looked as polished as it did on the Wii. But I do think that that game could have come out with pretty much identical content to what we got on the Wii. Now, am I saying that the story was the best? No, I'm not. But the game itself wasn't actually so bad. And yeah, while using the Wii remote for everything, especially with that small D-pad and being in pretty much a 3D arena, can be somewhat annoying, the game was actually still very functional and still played pretty decently. Plus, I mean, I'm sorry, there's no way in the world you can tell me that Samus grabbing a space pirate by the throat and slam them down on their face is just, no. Like, I'm sorry. To me, that's beautiful. But that aside, because I mean, she was like doing wrestling moves on monsters and freaking, gosh, it's just, yeah. All that aside, if Metroid Other M were designed around the GameCube and on the GameCube and it came out before the Prime series, I actually believe that that game would have been very well received. But before I even go into all of that, I'm going to explain how it would have worked on the GameCube as far as the mechanics and controls, because somebody's probably sitting there thinking it couldn't be done. Like, with all of the buttons that were available to the GameCube controller, you could have actually done it. It wouldn't have been a problem. Obviously, you'd have your analog for movement. Like, that's a given. Oh crap! Sorry, it's a little early in the morning, and I'm sitting here yawning, not trying to like make anyone tired. I know that this is going up at like 12 p.m., but whatever. But okay, you have your analog stick for movement. If you want to use like Samus's rockets in like first person mode, you can use either one of the triggers. Probably R trigger preferred because it's opposite of your analog stick. And Blakey, you'd probably use the left analog stick for aiming while you're in that first person mode. Obviously, the A button for jumping, B button for shooting. And then you have your X and Y buttons, which could be used for other things, like, you know, switching to rockets out of first person mode, or and possibly switching to your beam, your I always want to say it's a buster, but your beam when in first person mode, like, which it could have that would have given it actually additional gameplay functionality. And it also could have been, like, either one of those could also have been used to activate speed boost manually instead of it just being, I think it was just automatic in Other M. Very much like Metroid Fusion. I think it was automatic. It's been a while since I've played it, so if my memory's a little foggy, I'm sorry. You could use D-pad also for her other abilities to be able to switch between them on the fly, which would have been actually pretty nice instead of having all of her stuff just, I mean, as it unlocked, like, allow you to switch between different abilities and whatever, or to be able to use it to do her self-healing Like a lot of again, all this stuff is easily relegated to buttons or oh crap. Sorry, buttons or D-pad presses. It's not like there's no way that any of it could have been done. Blake and again, Blake could have given some extra functionality because you could have been able to use other things outside of what the game allowed. So like it could have opened up a few other barriers, and I know that I know the designers probably would have thought about that. And no, this would still be made by Team Ninja under Nintendo's supervision. Like, so anybody is asking, no, it would still be made by Team Ninja. This would be a little bit younger Team Ninja, and they probably put a little bit more emphasis on the gameplay than the story. But at the same time, it was still being done under Nintendo's supervision. So either way, the game would have still likely been mostly the same. Well, we would have still got the dramatic storyline with Samus and her basically having PTSD and all that stuff. And we would have been inside her head with her, which a lot of people complained about, but you asked for her talking so much in games. It's ridiculous that you complain about that now because you got what you wanted. But like I said, I think that the game would have been pretty well received. And that's mostly because there would have been no 3D Metroid before that. And somebody's going to be like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But that makes perfect sense. Because Samus in Other M was literally everything that people have been asking for decades. From like as soon as we got to the GameCube era, everybody was asking for a voice for Samus. Like they wanted to hear her talk. Actually, I think as far back as the 64 that was being asked for, but we didn't get a Metroid game on 64. Could have, but we didn't. So for me, looking at the circumstances, and she was basically everything that everyone asked for, minus people's impressions of her and thinking that she became a crybaby. But like, no, like that's honestly, that makes her more soldier-like than anything else, because inside the head of plenty of soldiers, and like, and I know a few, there's a lot of shit that goes on in your brain, and many of them don't talk about it. And Samus is pretty much the same way. Like, and if you're in her head with her thoughts, you're unfortunately going to be exposed to it. That's just how that is. Like, but that made her more human, which I guess that was the biggest problem for a lot of people, because it made her more human. But to me, honestly, that was a good thing, because you got to know more of the character on the inside. Like, yeah, she's still a badass. Like, she's still killing monsters. She's still going around, running through facilities, blowing every goddamn thing up. I mean, she's still doing all of that. You're just getting to know the inner person and not just the stoic robotic figure that you've seen throughout the games up until that point. And for a lot of people, that probably would have actually been something to relate to. At least from what I could see of it, like that would have been something for people to relate to. And I think it would have done way better had that actually been the first 3D Metroid game that we got. Because one, it was a follow-up to Super Metroid anyway. And two, we had already gotten, and I'm saying if that came out at instead of Prime 1 coming out, that came out at the same time as Fusion. That's basically where I'm placing it. If that game came out at the same time as Fusion, it would have been very well received. And then we could have gotten Prime when Zero Mission came out. Like that would I think that pot would have been stirred, and people would have been like, well, shit, I like this. And I don't think that Other M existing before the Prime games would have actually hurt the Prime games. If anything, I actually think it would have made them stronger, because there would have been people that would have looked at it and be like, oh, okay, so they're doing another Metroid game in a different style, and this probably would have made people more interested in the Prime games. It probably would have done better. I, I have no way of verifying that. It's just my own opinion. I think they probably would have done better because there would have been something there as a litmus test for interest in the character. And then you would have got back the stoic, robotic Samus that everybody was used to. The one that was quiet and didn't talk about everything. And they would have been like, this is more familiar. This is what I like a little bit more. And it probably would have done better from there. Again, that's my own opinion because it seems like everybody lords the Prime games as the best things in the series. And mind you, I believe they're all awesome games, but to me, they're not the best games in the series. Personally, they are amazing games, but I don't think they're the best games in the series. But that's a personal thing. Like, I'm not mad. Like, I'm not mad for people for having that opinion. But then again, there are a lot of people that got into Metroid with the Prime games and didn't play the originals like I did. So that's probably why they feel that way. But like me playing the originals and getting the context and the story from the original games, and then moving into Prime, like, yeah, I loved all of them. like not gonna lie, like I've loved all of them. The only thing, like, yeah, with not Zero Mission. I keep wanting to say Zero Mission when I mean Other M. The only issue with Other M that I had was that the story bits dragged on. That was it. And sometimes Samus put herself in very stupid positions because she didn't want to not follow orders, even though she had been shown having a history of disobeying orders. I don't know what the hell was going on with her, but that was stupid. Like, but if you take that away, like the stupidity of those situations and her stubbornness, and make the game pretty much the same outside of that, Other M would have done well. Like, it would have done decently well. It would have been well received. People would have liked it. It may not have sold the best. I'm not going to say it would have sold gangbusters over what it did on the Wii. Like, no, I'm not saying that. But I do think that people's opinion of it would have been better if it had been like the first 3D Metroid game. Like, and I don't think that plans for Samus Returns were relegated to the Wii. I think it might have actually been planned as a GameCube game, but they couldn't get a team together for it on time for it to be released for the GameCube. That's why that project got moved. And that happens with a lot of Nintendo's games. And like, you'll notice that they'll have a game, or they'll announce a game and it'll probably be announced for a platform. I mean, it doesn't happen a lot, but it's happened plenty of times before. But they'll announce a game and it might end up being moved over to another platform because it's coming out late in the life of the current one. And you probably wouldn't even see it until like year 2 or 3 of that console's lifetime. Like, just think about it. Pikmin 4 has not come out yet, even though we know that game was pretty much been finished. It has not come out yet because they're waiting for the right time to put it out. It's stuff like that happens. I mean, I'm not saying that's the exact situation with this, but I'm saying that that's a possible situation because I do think that was a planned GameCube game first. And the project just had to be moved because GameCube wasn't their current market platform at the time. But that's just my own personal analysis. Anyone else wants to give theirs, you go ahead. The next one is going to be a real treat for you guys because it's going to deal with a robot. I'm not telling you which one. You'll figure it out. Like, you'll find out. But that's it for everyone, for this one, everyone. Thank you very much for listening. I know I ran on a few times. Sorry, habit. Can't really. That's a habit I don't mind keeping because it keeps my personality in my videos, and it doesn't make everything so cut and dry. But that's it. Thank you guys very much for listening in. Keep your eyes and ears up for more stuff from me. And until the next time, enjoy your games. Peace out.